beyond the famed celebrity story's life. She stole the world's heart at 9. The Secret History of Amira Willighagen and Paksanai's timeless aria. There are moments in life, and in music, that feel like they belong to another world. Moments where time itself seems to pause, leaving only the sound, the feeling, and the memory. For millions of people, one of those moments arrived unexpectedly on a talent show stage in the Netherlands when a young girl named Amira Willighagen stepped forward and sang "O Mio Babino Caro." To understand why that moment had the impact it did, we need to go back, not just in years, but in understanding. Because this isn't simply a story about a gifted child. This isn't about a viral moment. This is about a collision of history, artistry, and raw human emotion that very few ever get to witness in a single performance. Amira was 9 years old. 9. At an age when most children are still learning basic skills of coordination, communication, and patience, she was performing one of the most emotionally nuanced and technically demanding arias ever composed. And she did it in a way that left not only the audience but the judges of Holland's Got Talent speechless. But this story is about more than surprise or novelty. It's about context, history, technique, and, most importantly, connection. Because Amira did not simply sing notes. She communicated centuries of musical tradition in a voice that felt impossibly mature for her age. And behind those notes lies a story many people overlook, the story of the aria's creator, Giacomo Puccini. The journey of Puccini is a journey into emotion itself. Born in 1858 in Lucca, Italy, he was steeped in music from a young age. But it wasn't just formal instruction that shaped him, it was observation, absorption, and an uncanny understanding of human emotion that allowed him to translate life into music. Puccini's compositions were designed not just to entertain, but to communicate the deepest feelings of the human experience. And among those works, "O Mio Babino Caro" stands as one of his most delicate and emotionally immediate pieces. It's the story of a young woman pleading with her father, a song that combines innocence, desire, and vulnerability in a way that has resonated with audiences for over a century. Now imagine what it means for a 9-year-old to step into that world. To sing those lines not as a mimic, but as a human being capable of understanding, or at least feeling, the emotions embedded in every note. Amira's performance was a masterclass in interpretation without instruction. She did not simply replicate what she heard from recordings. She internalized the aria, finding her own path through its emotional terrain. And that is what made her performance feel extraordinary. But let's pause and consider the challenges of this moment. Opera is unforgiving. Every note, every phrase, every breath is exposed. There is no place to hide. Any error, any lapse in control, is instantly noticeable. And yet, Amira sang with clarity, precision, and above all, feeling. It's easy to focus on her age and the viral nature of the video, but the real achievement lies in the way she bridged eras, connecting herself directly to Puccini's composition. She created a dialogue across time. A young voice speaking the language of a man who had lived over a century before her birth. And in doing so, she reminded the world of something essential: music is timeless. But there's more to this story than the performance itself. Because behind every viral moment is a journey rarely seen by the public. Amira's story didn't start on a television stage. It began in the quiet moments of her childhood, listening, learning, and experimenting. Unlike many child prodigies, she was not the product of elite conservatories or a rigid system of musical training. Her early journey was defined by curiosity, self-discovery, and an instinctive understanding of music. That instinct is what allowed her to grasp the emotional nuance of "O Mio Babino Caro." She may have been young, but she had a rare sensitivity, the ability to feel music beyond technical notes, to inhabit emotion that was written for someone older and more experienced, and make it feel natural. And this is precisely what Puccini intended with his music. He didn't want mere technical display. He wanted the listener to feel something real, to recognize themselves in the song. And for a 9-year-old to translate that into performance is nothing short of extraordinary. Her journey, however, did not end with that single performance. Viral fame is fleeting, and the pressure on young artists is immense. Many child prodigies struggle with the sudden attention, but Amira navigated it with a unique balance of discipline and authenticity. She continued to train, refine her voice, and develop her artistry without abandoning the qualities that made her performance special in the first place: sincerity, clarity, and emotional honesty. Meanwhile, Paksanai's legacy continued to evolve independently of her performance. His compositions, once revolutionary, had now become classical standards, pieces performed countless times by some of the greatest voices in opera history. And yet, despite the thousands of interpretations over the decades, the aria maintained its essence. O mio babino caro is deceptively simple, but its simplicity is exactly why it has endured. There is nowhere to hide. Every phrase, every line, every breath demands precision, control, and feeling. And that's where the connection becomes so profound. Amira did not merely perform the aria. She interpreted it. She inhabited it. She became a part of its legacy, while at the same time standing out as uniquely her own. And that is something no viral moment alone can explain. What makes this story even more remarkable is the way it bridges cultures, generations, and expectations. A Dutch child, raised outside the traditional world of Italian opera, bringing to life a piece of music written in a completely different era, speaking a language she was learning, connecting emotionally with listeners worldwide. That is artistry. That is legacy. And the ripple effects continue. Performances like this inspire new audiences, younger generations, and people who might never have listened to opera otherwise. They remind us that music is not confined by age, geography, or tradition. It's about feeling, empathy, and expression. Paksanai may have lived and died over a century ago, but through performers like Amira, his music lives, breathes, and continues to impact the world in ways he could never have imagined. And for Amira, the journey is far from over. She continues to perform, refine her craft, and explore the depths of classical music, showing that talent is not a moment, it's a lifelong pursuit. Her story reminds us that greatness is not simply the result of skill, but of persistence, emotional intelligence, and the courage to connect deeply with art that transcends time. This is the story of a child prodigy, a timeless aria, and the invisible threads that link generations of artists. It's a story of discipline, passion, and the rare moments when music stops being a performance and becomes a shared human experience. Because beyond the fame, beyond the applause, beyond the headlines, what lasts is connection. What lasts is emotion. What lasts is music itself. And in that space between past and present, between composer and performer, between performer and audience, that is where we find true artistry. To truly understand the impact of Amira's performance, we must also consider the cultural weight of O mio babino caro. While it may seem like a simple aria on paper, it carries layers of historical, musical, and emotional context that most listeners don't immediately perceive. Written in 1918 as part of Paksanai's opera Gelukskinders, the piece was intended for a character caught between innocence and urgency. Loretta's plea to her father is not merely a request, it is a revelation. The character exposes herself emotionally in a way that is fragile, delicate, and human. That fragility is what makes the aria both accessible and profound. It allows performers to bring their own interpretation to the stage. But it also presents an immense challenge, particularly for someone as young as Amira. To convey the emotional depth required, a singer must balance technical precision with feeling. Too much focus on technique can sterilize the emotion. Too much emphasis on passion can disrupt the musical line. Striking that balance is something even seasoned professionals struggle to achieve. Amira, however, demonstrated this balance effortlessly. Her phrasing, breathing, and tonal control were all finely tuned, yet there was no sense of forced maturity. What she delivered was natural, instinctive, and compelling. Her performance reminds us that emotional intelligence is as critical to music as physical skill. The ability to inhabit a character, to project vulnerability, and to create intimacy through sound is rare at any age, and almost unprecedented in a child performer, yet her story isn't only about raw ability. It is also about dedication and resilience. From a young age, Amira's life was structured around not just learning songs, but truly understanding them. She would listen to recordings of great singers, studying phrasing, tone, and emotional nuance.
She would listen to recordings of great singers, studying phrasing, tone, and emotional nuance. She would experiment with her own voice, learning how to shape sound without the guidance of formal conservatories early in her career. This self-directed learning is part of what made her breakthrough performance so authentic. It wasn't imitation, it was interpretation. She had absorbed enough to understand the underlying emotion of Paksanai's music, but she presented it in her own voice. And that is a critical distinction. Many young performers rely on replication, mimicking the phrasing or style of older singers. But Amira's approach went deeper. She internalized the music and allowed her interpretation to emerge organically. That is what transformed a technically proficient performance into something transcendent. Meanwhile, the story of Giacomo Puccini provides context for why the aria itself is so enduring. Puccini had an unparalleled ability to fuse narrative and musicality. His works are emotionally direct, yet musically sophisticated. Oh Mio Babino Caro may be short, less than 3 minutes in most performances, but its impact is monumental. Part of that impact lies in the simplicity of the melody. The notes are elegant, flowing, and lyrical, leaving space for the performer to interpret meaning. But simplicity can be deceptive. Performing this aria without nuance or understanding renders it flat. Every note, every breath, every subtle crescendo carries significance. This is why, when a child like Amira performs it successfully, the world notices. It is not just that she sang the notes. It is that she understood the aria's emotional architecture and translated it into her own expression. And that translation carries forward Puccini's legacy, reminding us that music is not static. Each performer adds to the life of a piece. The aria becomes not just a historical artifact, but a living, breathing entity that interacts with each generation in new ways. Her breakthrough also illuminates the intersection between classical music and modern media. Talent shows and viral videos have transformed the way audiences experience music. Where Puccini's compositions were once confined to opera houses, now they can reach millions of people online in a single moment. But that exposure brings both opportunity and challenge. Young performers like Amira must navigate a world where viral fame can overshadow artistic development. The initial spectacle may draw attention, but sustaining a long-term career requires focus, growth, and intentionality. Amira's journey illustrates how a prodigy evolves into a true artist. She continued to perform internationally, expanding her repertoire beyond O Mio Babino Caro, collaborating with orchestras, and refining her technique. But throughout it all, she remained committed to the essence that drew people to her in the first place: authenticity. Authenticity, in turn, reinforces the universality of Puccini's music. The composer's work remains relevant because it relies on human emotion rather than era-specific trends. Love, longing, and vulnerability resonate across centuries, and Amira's performance demonstrates that these feelings can be communicated by anyone with the sensitivity to inhabit them. The story of Amira and Puccini is also a story about connection. Connection between eras, cultures, and listeners. Amira, a Dutch child, interprets the work of an Italian composer for a global audience, bridging linguistic, cultural, and generational gaps. In that bridge lies the true power of music. And it's a power that continues to evolve. As Amira grows older, her voice changes, her interpretations deepen, and her repertoire expands. Each new performance brings the potential to reinterpret Puccini's work while remaining faithful to its original emotional intent. Meanwhile, Puccini's music remains a benchmark, inspiring not only performers like Amira but also new generations of musicians who encounter the aria for the first time. His compositions are studied academically, performed professionally, and experienced emotionally by audiences worldwide. They remain dynamic because each performance adds new meaning, revealing layers that previous generations may not have noticed. This interplay between performer and composer, past and present, is what makes classical music enduring. It is not preserved through static repetition, but through interpretation, innovation, and human connection. And that is why Amira's story is more than a viral moment. It is a living example of how music transcends time, teaching lessons about discipline, emotion, and the universality of human experience. When we examine the arc of her career and the enduring relevance of Paksanai's music, it becomes clear that the greatest artistry is not in isolation. It is in the dialogue between composer, performer, and audience. It is in the careful cultivation of talent over time, paired with a sensitivity to the emotional heart of the work. This is why her performance resonates not only with opera aficionados but also with those who might have never listened to classical music before. She serves as a bridge to a tradition that might otherwise feel distant or inaccessible, proving that the emotional truths of Paksanai's compositions are universal. In the end, the story of Amira Willighagen and O Mio Babino Caro is a reminder that art is alive. That history is not fixed, but carried forward through interpretation, empathy, and passion. That a single moment on a stage can ripple across the world, touching hearts and inspiring new journeys. And as she continues to grow, continue to perform, and continue to explore her artistry, the story is far from over. This is the legacy of both the young soprano and the timeless composer. One created it. One carries it forward. And together, they demonstrate that true music is not just heard, it is felt, remembered, and shared across generations. And also, if you enjoy this video, please subscribe and comment for more videos, and please share the video. Thanks for watching. See you in another next video. Peace out.